Hey, how you guys doing tonight? It's Monday night. We're back to talk about some more movies on the Monday Night Movie Club, and I got my two buddies here joining me for another Monday night of movie and nonsense talk. Joining us first is our good buddy Rob Mata. How you doing today, Rob?
Oh, pretty good. Saw some movies over the weekend and just taking it easy going into the week.
And then right below him is our good friend down in the deep heart of Texas, Mr. Rick Aragon. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well. No complaints.
So I intentionally didn't say anything before we started this show because I feel like it's been a little while and I wanted to catch up with you guys, see what you guys have been up to. Might as well do it here on the show. So I have an experience that I want to talk about, but I want to save it first because I feel like it's going to turn into a rant. So I'm going to start off on a good note. Rob, how was your Easter weekend? How did you enjoy the time off?
Good. I don't. It's fine. I mean, I mostly just watch movies and I made chicken parmesan.
It's
That's
better than,
kind of
than most people, right?
what I do every weekend is make food and watch movies.
Rick, do you have anything different than that, like enchiladas, maybe any kind of experiences, stories, or whatnot?
Well, let's see. I had a picnic and a cookout with two of my cousins, and at Easter service there was a medical emergency that took up a good amount of the time. It was kind of well, of course, it was a surprise. I hope that she's doing well. So yeah, so that's pretty
It's not
much
the
it.
communist friend that we're always talking about, right?
Why would she be at an Easter service?
I mean, I'm
She's
just
she's
making
she's
sure.
she's very much an atheist.
It's
Of course
Texas,
she is.
isn't it? Like, doesn't everybody go to church in Texas? Isn't that like a movie stereotype?
Well, no, I don't know if that stereotype is true, but I can tell you our pastor did talk about the CEOs who are Christmas and Easter only, people who just go to church on those
Oh
two
yeah,
occasions, Christmas and Easter.
we all know a lot of people like that, Rick.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
throw anyone here under the bus here tonight. Um, so today was a very interesting day because on Bounding in the Comics YouTube, John Trent talked to Stephen Dice. I mean, yeah, Stephen. Did I say his name wrong? Dicey. I'm blanking on his name already. But the guy from the Blaze TV who was in charge of doing the movie Nefarious. He talked about like a lot of the things behind the scenes that went into putting that film together. So if you guys haven't checked that out, definitely go check it out over there. It's only like an hour long interview, pretty insightful stuff. And fortunately, I had to do some work today, so I wasn't able to join in to talk about the movie itself. But obviously, that'll be our topic for next week's show when we do our movie night. And I'm looking into a couple of things here, especially with Easter coming up. It's like I know people may not be the most religious, looking at like Rob's direction, but it's like I just feel like that with the amount of content that's relating towards good and evil, especially over the last few, I guess you could say, months into years or so, isn't by coincidence. And I think we'll definitely get a little bit more into it tomorrow night on the Barroom podcast. We're definitely going to explode on a couple of topics. But have you guys noticed that Hollywood seems to be pushing a very warped view towards morality recently with a lot of their content, whether it's in movies and television shows? Like, Rob, I know you watch more older content, but when you do watch like something a little bit newer, do you kind of notice that when you watch content today too?
Well, I mean, ideology gets in the way a lot of the time of just telling a good story. I'll say this about both movies that I kind of had just different reactions to this weekend. The
Mm-hmm.
Air movie and the Mario Brothers movie. They didn't have much ideology in there. It was mostly
Yeah.
about solving a problem. Achieve things, or solving problems with your friends and overcoming. The either the bad guy or the challenge of the day. But there is a lot of weird sort of like, hey, we're gonna make the women heroes and the guys kind of wimpy, and there's a lot of that going on. I try not to look at things in a morality based way because again, I grew up in the 90s where I constantly pushed back against like social conservatism, trying to censor shit and trying to tell like creatives what they can and can't do depending on their religious outlook. Now it's like depravity is almost being celebrated. It's almost like, hey, you should sleep around. That's healthy. You shouldn't get married because that's a trap. Or like, you hear all this shit, and it's like it's starting to come out that like maybe that's wrong. Maybe you should just let people live, kind of like
Yeah.
live how they want.
Uh, a good point to that. I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of the show. It's a UK show called Skins. Have you guys ever heard of this show?
Yeah.
It was like a popular show maybe about 15 years ago when it was on in its original run. But I used to watch it back in the day, and I liked it for the most part. There was some things I liked, some things that I didn't. About 3 years ago, when the whole COVID thing started, and we were all doing like the work from home. As I was working from home, I was like, "Hey, let me go rewatch Skins with kind of like an older perspective and see if a lot of things still hold up." And while I generally like most of the cast that is in that show, a lot of the things that they were pushing at the time kind of bothered me, rubbed me the wrong way. Looking back at it now, because it was all a show about then teenagers. I think it was like 16-year-olds at the time, which you have to keep into perspective. 16 is legal in the UK, so they're considered legal adults at that age. But they're doing things like drinking, having sex, doing drugs, and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, yeah, I don't really know if I dig this whole format of teenagers being degenerates at such a young age and it's being portrayed as normal. And then like that was pretty much like your first two seasons. Then like the season 3 and 4, they tried to do the same formula again with a new cast, didn't work at all. But then there was a season 5, and I know it's called series in the UK, but it's season here in the US. Season 5 is like, okay, we're gonna just start fresh with a completely new cast, and they were like, well, we know that we can't do the same formula of degeneracy and drugs and partying because everyone's gonna like immediately point that out, right? So they decide, okay, well, we're gonna focus this story on storytelling, on character development, because we need new audiences to buy into these new characters, and they know that the older crowd is not gonna be as interested because it's not the same people that they're used to. So for that 5th season, they actually did very good work on character, on story, and they made everyone on the show likable. It wasn't just about partying and drinking. It's like they actually gave him depth. Like there was like they did like drama, romance. It was actually very very well done. You understood where all the characters came from, which is why I say season 5 of that show is the best season by far. Now that's an unpopular statement, I know that, but for my money, it's the best one. Then you get to season 6, which is the second season of that one. And they're like, okay, now that we got everyone in, let's go back to essentially what the Skins that everyone knows and remembers, which is degeneracy, drugs, stuff like that. And it's like everything you built up in that 5th season, you completely threw it away and destroyed everyone's character in that second one. It was like, it almost felt to me like they accidentally made a good season on that one hit. And then I was like, well, that, like, it's like Rob says, ideology gets in the way of good creative. It's like they remember, it's like, well, this is what people know us for, so we have to go back to doing, what we were good at. And it's like, no, stepping away from that is exactly what won you guys over in the first place. So it's things like that I know. It's just like, man, you guys were so close to having something so good, then you kind of blew with their ideology. But I'll go with Rick. Do you guys notice this? Any kind of current TV or movies that you've been watching recently?
Well, not much on TV because I don't really watch a lot of current television. Now, especially now that I found the Tubi and the Roku, it's like I'm still watching Highway to Heaven, so I don't know what that tells you about me.
Is the Ten Commandments on Tubi yet, or are they waiting, holding out on that one?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they show it on ABC every year.
But man, I can tell you the last time I watched ABC. So
Yeah, well, it's an annual Passover tradition because it's not an Easter movie. As for the movies, well, there seems to be, I guess, a more loosening of taboos. I mean, think about it.
yeah,
We had that great Bros that popped up. That was a turning point. We're going to get a lot more uh, uh, transgender characters and non-binary characters in television and film. The thing is, because I don't watch that much television now, that's present day, I don't really keep up, so I have no idea. Like that whole Last of Us, I know there was that one episode where we had the gay guys, and I don't know what the big deal was because I never saw the show, so I have nothing to
yeah.
contribute to that.
You're not missing anything, so I'm pretty sure you don't have to worry about any
Yeah.
of that. Shout out to our guys in the chat, Doba Fett, Alex vs. Evil, Cassie who's listening right now, Rico, and yeah, everyone who's listening to us on both YouTube and Rumble because we're live on both right now. But I kind of bring up this point because I'm gonna see if you guys are on the same line with me. There's a show on Netflix because basically I've been watching nothing but like poker as I work for like the last like 2 weeks. I'm trying to like change it up just a little bit. And there's a show on Netflix. I think it's called like Dubai Bling or something like that. And it's essentially one of those like real like housewives of wherever the hell knockoff shows. So I'm watching this for like 20 minutes and you're getting like the character introductions of what everyone did. Basically, this whole show is about a bunch of women who married into someone who's far more successful than they are, and they think that they're important as a result of that. And right out of the gate, like 20 minutes into the show, the first quote unquote drama argument of the show was that, oh, this girl said something about me on social media. And then it was something that I would never say. Like before the argument even got halfway started, I was like, oh my God, I don't care. Like, like where's the little Charlie Day thing? This is literally my reaction.
Shut up! Oh my God, I don't care!
Like that's literally my reaction watching this show, and I'm thinking to myself, who watches this? Like who enjoy? Why is there so many of these shows on here? And I'm thinking to myself, look, I understand I'm not the target demographic for these shows, but it's like there's so many of them, and they're all the same thing. It's like, look, I don't care about a bunch of 40-year-old women bickering like they're still in high school about stuff that is so trivial to what actually matters in life. It's like I almost had just a complete meltdown like watching 20 minutes of this show, and this is exactly why I don't watch television anymore. I mean, I tell people I don't watch TV anymore, and they get like surprised. It's like, oh, well, you watch so many movies. I think you love to know. I hate TV. Like I really do. Like the only TV shows I can watch now are like home renovation shows and street racing. That's all that I can watch because that's the only shows that don't irritate the crap out of me. It's like, Rob, am I wrong here? Have you tried watching one of these garbage shows before?
No, and the exact kind of show you're talking about, it's almost specifically for women and gay dudes. And I say that because, like, literally, I talk to a lot of people. I try to get a lot of feedback, on social media, just like what they like, whatever. It seems to be just, and say it's a guilty pleasure. They own up to it and say, hey, it's bad. It's not like good TV. But it seems like 70% of TV is like that. And like, I don't know, when I was just listening to Louis C.K. today talk about his show and stuff, it's like back when Louis was on the air, like in 2010, your show had to be really good or it was getting canceled. Like there was a period just like shortly after The Sopranos ended when it's like there was a lot of really good TV and it was incredibly competitive. It seems like it's gone back to like crap mostly. You know what I mean? Like
it's like
HBO show, there's the occasional thing on FX, but mostly TV has returned to that crappy, where they need to just fill in time slots.
It's like that like I said, that end period right towards like the very beginning of like the 2010s where it's like you had like shows like Sons of Anarchy and Mad Men and Burn Notice and what was it, Breaking Bad, and like Game of Thrones I think was just starting like around that time. So it's like, yeah, TV shows were actually really competitive towards that, and then they just decided, no one's watching TV anymore, so let's just give up on this whole thing altogether. It's like even another one, Walking Dead was really big like around that time too. Like there was a lot of great TV shows. You have to come out with quality, and now it's like, where's all the TV gone? I think the big part of that is that was the last era of TV shows that just focused on its own plot. It didn't have to try to like jam any kind of like agenda down your throats. Now it's like every TV show has to be like, oh well, we have to meet our diversity quotas, we have to meet our sexuality quotas, we have to meet what message can we push here? Is there something about drag queens that we can insert in episode like 4? It's like this is all they think about now. This is why television is so bad. Even going back to like the Skins, another reason that season 5 was so good is because, shocker, there weren't any gay characters in season 5, and they realized that by season 6, so they brought in some gay character, they inserted into the show. He had no impact whatsoever on any of the other characters that they already established, and his only big moment of the show was that he had like an aggressive sex scene with like his black boyfriend at one point of the series, and I was like, what was even the point of like inserting this entire character? Like you could have removed them entirely. It would have changed absolutely nothing.
Oh, well, yes, it brings to mind a Doctor Who spin-off called Class, what took place at the school where I guess they started the show
Mhm.
back in the 60s. They decided to make the main character gay, and which, I mean, I didn't care, but they had surprisingly graphic uh, sex scenes, which really kind of threw me. I mean, the show was terrible because it was poorly written, not well acted, except for one adult. The rest were teen characters,
Yeah.
and it was just it was just really bad. There were times where I was laughing. I'm not supposed to laugh when a character's mother is brutally murdered by aliens, but I had kept rewinding it because I thought it was hilarious. And I think a lot of the things that you're complaining about, Jacob, relate to uh, the so-called reality TV shows. The name Andy Cohen comes to mind, as he's the one who's come up and
Yeah.
turned Bravo, which used to be kind of this classy upmarket
Yes.
network that would show documentaries on like
Remember
Martha
James
Graham.
Lipton? Do you remember
Yeah,
Inside the Actor
into
Studio?
studios, and now it's
Jesus.
nothing. And now it's nothing but Vanderpump Rules, Real Housewives, this, that, or the other. I know who these people are vaguely, but I really have no idea why anyone genuinely cares who they are. And it's not just them. You look at all the other networks, A&E. It doesn't. It also shows those. I'm really, if I see any new shows, they're kind of like those remodeling shows. I mean, I would watch Love It or List It, and what was that one? That one with Chip and Joanna Gaines. I can never remember the name of the show. Yeah, the
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, I know
yeah.
what
You
you're
know
talking about
which?
too.
Yeah. You
It's
know
like
which one.
Fixer Upper or something like
Yeah,
that. Somewhere along
Fixer
those
Upper.
lines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fixer Upper. And they got criticized because they didn't have a gay couple on the show that they were going to remodel. And so, all right, well, first, good luck finding a lot of gay couples in Waco, Texas. I mean, I don't know how many there
That's
are.
fun.
I'm sure there are, but they said they would be fine. Oh yeah, TLC. That's
The
even worse.
TLC is just pure degeneracy at
Yeah,
this
that
point.
used to be the Learning Channel. That used to be an educational show.
They
Used to
used to
be.
have super graphic like surgery, like ambulance stuff, like documentarian stuff that was really interesting, by the way, TLC. And they've just
Yeah.
turned to complete shit.
Oh yeah,
Like
and
their best content now is Dr. Pimple Popper. Like that's their literally the best probably show on the whole network now.
no,
Yep.
and then you got the Travel Channel, which used to be about going to all these and exploring the history of all these foreign locations. Now it's what
I
is it?
think it's like nothing but like paranormal shows now, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
Uh-huh. Well, I think once in a while you'll actually get a show that's about the past or a location, but yes, it's a lot about you know hidden aliens and ghost stories, ghost hunters. And I'm thinking, what does this really have to do with
I think
travel?
I think that one what happened was like the biggest show on that network was like Ghost Adventurers for a while. So like that was like their most popular show. Then they realized, well, the only thing anyone's watching on here is Ghost Adventurers now. So let's just turn travel into like a completely like a 24/7 paranormal network now. And it's like I actually used to like travel when they were like do like, locations or like they would go to like restaurants, just kind of like I actually like that old format, but
Yeah.
clearly it's not anything that they stick with anymore. But it's like what network that has started off as one thing has ever stuck with their initial mission
Oh,
statement, right? It's almost
yeah.
like MTV with like music videos. It's like now it's like 24 hours like ridiculousness, like 24/7. Like that's all they have now. Like VH1 is now the home for like Love and Hip Hop, which is just basically the black version of Real Housewives now.
And then yeah, well, don't forget, like was it Wild and Out with Nick
There's Nick
Cannon?
Cannon,
Nick
yeah.
Cannon,
Yeah,
yeah.
I see that in the morning when I go to the gym. So that's and I don't understand. I think what it is also motivated by the idea of fame. People want to be famous, and they will be willing to do all sorts of humiliating things in order to get any kind of notoriety. You trace this down to the Kardashians and all those spin-off shows that really chronicle unimportant lives, all of these people. But every network, even AMC, people forget AMC stands technically for American Movie Classics. it was kind of like a Turner Classic Movies, where they would show. I mean, they had like one original program back in the day when it was like a show that was set in the early days of radio or something like that. But now they show, was it Beastmaster? And sure, they've shown these shows that are critically acclaimed that I've never seen, Breaking Bad, uh, Better Call Saul spinoff. I've never seen them, so I can't comment on them. But AMC, when was the last time AMC actually showed a movie that would be considered anywhere close to a classic, like an actual film? And even
They stopped showing movies a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I remember that. So
and I think you get the sense that Turner Classic Movies is slowly going that route too, because they are focusing. I mean, they had that whole Reframe series where we had to find out that Seven Brides for Seven Brothers is problematic because they kidnap the women and hold them hostage, and all these. I remember I actually that was the first time I ever saw Seven Brides for Seven Brothers because I wanted to see what was so problematic about it, and I thought, really, you think this is on the same level as Birth of a Nation? You people are whack.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just, it just feels like we're just in this constant state of cultural decline. And like I say, every time I try to dip my toes back into the water, it's like I'm only justified in why I walked away in the first place. And yeah, just to put it this way, I'll be watching poker for a lot longer now because whatever the hell they're doing there, it's just not worth time and money. So there you go. Netflix is still a dumpster fire. I mean, I know they got like a lot of like South Korean content on there that they're pretty much like poaching over with the American rights. It's like, I don't know, maybe I have to go to another country to find quality content now. So I'll give some of their stuff a shot before I give up on that one too. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I have on there. So
With Netflix, I'll watch some of the documentary shows, and they're really pushing me to watch those telenovelas on Vicente Fernandez and I guess Juan Gabriel, all these famous performers. So I'll give those a shot. But really, uh, even there, you could see as I was with it to Harry and Meghan, you know,
yeah.
their generation's Duke and Duchess of Windsor. So there's nothing there.
Netflix feels like an overbloated whale at this point. I'm sure that they're not going to fail. I'm sure they're financially secure, but it felt
Well,
like
I wouldn't go that
there,
far, but they probably are too big to fail at this point, unless
but
something.
they felt like for a while there they were heading down.
Well, I mean, they
kind of
haven't. To be fair, they haven't really truly recovered. I mean, they've been billions of dollars in debt like since the whole thing started. They keep borrowing money in order to keep the whole thing afloat. The only thing that they've kept going is because I think they have like 160 million like subscribers like worldwide or whatnot. I mean, they are the largest streaming service in the world, so
Yeah.
I know that they generate a lot of revenue, but they don't actually like make money because they have to pour like billions and billions of dollars into creating content and then getting the rights for other content. So it's like even that money that they're getting in like goes shoots out immediately other places to the point where I think they're still like 10, 15 billion in debt or some crazy number like that, which when that domino collapses, yeah, the whole streaming thing is probably going to go down pretty quickly there
But
too.
there's something that you've also talked about, Jacob. When you have what you would call these diversity hires, when you hire someone not based on the actual skill as a writer or director or actor, but because they fit certain demographics, that's not really going to help. If you're going to hire someone just because they're Asian, as you did with what She-Hulk, and women, as you did with She-Hulk, you're not going to produce great content. That's not to say that a woman can't write. Obviously, a woman can write.
Mhm.
Obviously, a black person can write. Obviously, a gay person can write. But the fact that you are a woman or black or gay does not in and of itself guarantee great artistic achievement. You have to bring something to the game. And if you're just going to say, well, I'm Hispanic, so obviously my work is brilliant. No, not necessarily. One is
But
not
see,
exclusive to the
but
other.
Rick, that's the whole hubris of that the representational debate. That's the narcissism that these people believe is that
Yeah.
that the white system, the white patriarchy has dominated over us for all this time, and now we're going to get a seat at the table simply for being not white. I mean, it's like if you believe that there's this white system of power, you would want to place it with actual equality, right?
Yeah.
people being treated equally, not certain people get certain benefits or rights over others. That's defeating the purpose of moving towards equality. It's what these people make no sense. It's like you want to be superior to other people. That's this whole thing. You don't want to be equal. You want to feel superior and to be superior in your own eyes over others, especially apparently white men.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I always enjoy using my Mexican privilege to say that you're wrong whenever you criticize a movie that I like.
Well, I've started putting I'm that I'm Hispanic or Latino on my job application. So there you go.
Oh,
Get that representation going. Like I
That's
say,
right.
it's like I'm pretty sure you guys have seen the video of the girl from Bud Light, the head of the marketing division, who decided that, hey, Bud Light's a little too frat boyish, and we need to do something new. So let's put a trans woman on our beer cans, and that will sell beer. That will really get the good old boys out there buying the whole Bud Light thing. And it's like here's the thing. This person's so ridiculously unqualified for that job, but I have to ask myself who hired this chick to begin with, because that's the person who I want to question. I'm not questioning the VP of marketing. I want to know who hired the VP of marketing, knowing exactly the person that she was to begin with, because that person is the one that needs to be fired, because you're about to torpedo your entire brand that you guys have held together for so many decades and blow it on a guy pretending to be a woman right now. So.
well, even if you bought, the idea that Dylan Mulvaney is a good spokesperson for your product, and I do wonder how many transgender people drink Bud Light on a regular basis. I don't think that this particular individual is a good spokesperson merely because there's always something so exaggerated about the individual. And remember, this person does not really
Maybe
claim.
mental illness. Have you thought that could be possible?
All I can say is that this person does not really even claim to be a woman. This person claims to be a girl, because they always say, celebrating day 75 of girlhood. And you saw that video where this person was pretending to be Eloise from Eloise of the Plaza, a 6-year-old. That's not rational behavior, even if you were a biological woman. And I don't even want to know. I mean, this person's also apparently a pitch person for tampons, for Tampax. And I wonder.
Apparently, this person has a sponsorship deal with everybody now. Like everyone's getting in on the money train with this person. It's like 15 sponsorship deals going simultaneously. Like, this is who we're giving all our money to right now.
The thing is, and I've said this repeatedly, who is the target audience? The vice president of marketing, when she decided to pick this individual as their pitch person, pitch man, pitch woman, what have you, she said that she wanted to get rid of the frat guys. Or, well, maybe the frat guys are the only ones who actually want to drink Bud
That's
Light.
who's buying your fucking product, you stupid bitch. Like,
And
holy shit.
And you
Like,
think, and you think that Dylan Mulvaney is going to appeal to all these frat guys?
Listen,
And
Rick,
the same thing.
you know who this is for? Bud Light is for literally guys who want to buy a 30 pack and get fucking sloshed on the weekends. Like,
Yeah.
I know literally the market this is for. That's who buys Bud Light and Busch Light and these fucking terrible beers. It's not for the
Bud
taste.
Light is literally for guys who either want to go to a beer and watch a game or a fight, or they're literally the tailgate guys. It's like, hey, I can get a 30 case of beer that's pretty affordable for everyone else who's just going to sit outside the stadium and drink while we listen to the Bills game on the radio. It's like, that's all
that
this
is
is
true
for.
because that is what is sold at the Chihuahuas and Locomotive game. But I think you guys also remember the Gillette, when they decided that you weren't going to be the best the man can get. They were going to tell us how awful men were, how how they sexually harass women, how they would no longer be boys, will be boys, and how they were going to educate men on the good, on how to be better men. What happened? People started boycotting. Their sales went down. I myself stopped buying Gillette because I didn't like being lectured to. And now, if you see their commercials, they went back to their old tagline: "The best a man can get." Why? Because they know it works.
Yeah, like I said, if you guys remember the old Brock Lesnar promo that he cut on Bud Light, he was far ahead of his time. Let's just put it that way. And here's what I would say. I would say, yeah, go in there and drink Coors Light instead. But I mean, look, Coors Light's owned by Canada, so it's only a matter of time before they fuck up too. So it's just like, just be sober, guys. So like all these beer companies are gonna are gonna disappoint you. Like even like right after the whole Bud Light thing, like what was it? Jack Daniels came out with the whole drag queen promotion, like too, like right afterwards. It's like just be sober, guys. Like that's the best advice I can get you. Just don't drink. You'll probably lose some weight and get in better health. It's all for the best anyway. So let's put it that way.
If you don't know who your customers are, then what are you thinking?
Well, I'm cynical, and I think that all this is about ESG money. So all these corporations are basically just like, "Hey, give us money because we care about X issue." But you know what I mean? It's that like globalist, like corporate pledge to to be inclusive and whatever. And it's like I'm pretty sure it's just money at this point, because it's like there isn't enough market with the people you're alienating with all of these ads, these companies.
Yeah. Well, why don't they send Dylan Mulvaney on like a goodwill tour of India and see how well Dylan Mulvaney is received over by the Hindu nationalists? I'm sure that will go well.
You're not helping, Spencer.
Hey, I like IPAs.
Someone has to.
Tastes disgusting.
Drink stouts like a man. Have you tried that?
I like dark brews, Guinness, Shiner, Camberbach as well. But I rarely drink. But the few I do.
Yeah, just real quick here. So I was earlier talking about Steve Dice, who spoke with John Trent from Bounding in the Comics earlier today. Apparently, he's in the emergency room right now dealing with an infection. So something happened over the course of the last few hours. So hopefully things are going well with him over there. Like I said, we will be talking about the film Nefarious next week, and maybe another film if I can think of anything interesting between now and the time we do this show. But let's go ahead and get this show kicked off, and we'll talk about the film that apparently Spencer had no idea actually existed. Let's talk about Air, because that's going to be our first movie of the night. So when you guys first saw the trailer for this movie, I think the big hooking point for a lot of people with this film is like, oh, this is going to be a film about Michael Jordan. And if you're going into that thinking this, you may be a little bit disappointed, because it's not really much about Michael Jordan. It's about the rise of Nike. Now, like I said, when Nike isn't, making shoes in Taiwanese sweatshops and, giving sponsorship deals to Dylan Mulvaney, or sponsoring Colin Kaepernick's protest in the national anthem, and doing all those other things that they've been doing over the last few years that they don't want you to talk about, they're teaming up with Hollywood to do a movie basically saying about how great Nike was, because there was once upon a time where Nike was that the underdog shoe company, where it's like, well, we're getting trampled by Converse, we're getting trampled by Adidas, we need to figure out a business plan that's going to put us over the top, because that's the American dream. It's the 1980s, everyone's on coke, so we need to figure out something to get ahead. And they're like, well, we can either spend our entire marketing budget of the year on 3 players who no one's going to know about, who's not going to sell any shoes whatsoever, or we can go all in to get Michael Jordan. Now, at the time, Michael Jordan was a unproven basketball player. He was only around in the University of North Carolina. A lot of people were doubting where he was going to be the next big thing, especially when you had guys like, Barkley and other more notable guys that were in that draft that year. But Nike decided, hey, look, I see something special in this kid, so we're going to go all in, and the rest is history, as they say. So Matt Damon in this film is playing Sonny Varsicaro, who is the guy who courted Michael Jordan, went after Michael Jordan, put the entire company on his back. You got Ben Affleck, who I forgot the entire time I was watching this film that he's actually the director of this movie too. We'll talk about that here in a second. And then you also have Jason Bateman playing Rod Streiser, who's kind of like the VP in marketing as well. And these 3 are the 3 central characters of this film that centers around their journey of getting Michael Jordan and becoming the #1 shoe salesman in the entire world. So I'll go ahead and start this one off with you, Rob. As far as the like I said, the setup of this film goes, did you Like, do you like the idea that they went more towards the Nike side, or you think they should have focused more on the MJ bit? Because at the end of the day, I think having MJ attached to this film is what drew a lot of people to this movie. So, like I say, if you're going into this thinking it's going to be an MJ film, you're going to be sadly mistaken because there's more focus on his mom than the actual character himself. We'll get to that in a second. But what did you think of the way they at least set this whole thing up for audiences?
Yeah, it's sort of like the specter of Michael Jordan is all around this movie, but you kind of don't ever really see him. That's because this movie is basically a movie about a shoe. This is a movie about a shoe. I can't,
Yeah.
I can't state it any more plainly than that. So going in, I kind of was like, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do. There's no story. It's a business deal. That's not a story. That's not a movie. Okay, I don't know how the hell they're gonna pull this off. So, and the fact that if when you hear the movie idea, you're like, oh, okay, like you can make it exciting. You can maybe show NBA highlights. You can have the character of Jordan in it. But when you get to what the movie is, when you see the trailer, and it's like, oh, it's not a. I mean, it's basically about the business deal to get this shoe done. So coming into it, I had my doubts that this would be enough material to make a movie. So, yeah. But again, it's Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck has been a good director in the past. I don't think he would sign up for something like without a plan in place. And there's a talented cast. So that was sort of my my viewpoint going into the movie on Saturday.
Rick, what did you think going into this? Did you have any? Well, what was your thoughts on the film before you saw it, or was it just a film that struck your eye at all?
Well, I actually went in thinking that it was going to be more about the business side and less about Michael Jordan. I was not completely surprised, but I was more amused at the efforts that they went to hide Michael Jordan. I think the character of Michael Jordan says 3 lines in the whole movie. No, I think maybe 2.
I think just one, honestly. When
No,
you picked up the phone towards the very end, you kind of hear
no,
vaguely his voice.
no. You hear him say "Bulls colors" when he sees the shoe,
Right.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
he does say hello. So I think he has 2 lines. But when they're at the Nike board meeting, I love how the how is it Chris Tucker is placed strategically in front of Michael Jordan, so
Yeah.
you don't get to see his face, and you're always avoiding. But he's kind of the specter, yes, like you said, he's kind of the ghost that kind of shadows the film. But I actually thought it was more about the creation of this kind of industry around this unproven player. And as someone who doesn't follow basketball, I really did not recognize many of the names that were in the draft. Curiously enough, the only one I really recognized was John Stockton.
No, there's a reason for that. The other
Yeah.
guys were kind of unproven, other than Barkley.
hmm So yes, but I actually was like Rob, puzzled as to whether there would be enough material to make it interesting. Not so much as there was enough material, but would I really be interested in a story about these guys trying to make a land a business deal with a player that was not, that was barely entering into the NBA. So I
Yeah.
went into that. I thought it was going to be more about the business side than about Jordan. But I was slightly amused at how far they went to hide Michael. You never saw him. You never heard from him. You never even saw his face. It was an interesting choice. But I was when I did my review today, I thought that Ben Affleck, almost all of his directing movies, I mean all of the movies that he's directed have been good. Live by Night is probably the only one that I would say was really bad. All
Yes.
the others have been very good, especially Gone Baby Gone, his debut. The only
Yep.
one that I think he didn't star in. I have to I have to lose some points because Ben Affleck does enjoy casting himself in the lead. Here, at least, he wasn't the lead; he was a supporting character, so that's a plus.
Probably for the best.
hmm
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm gonna get to some of like his filmography here because I was looking at some of the things that he did like as a director, but we'll get to that here in a second. You're glad you mentioned Chris Tucker because there's a lot of characters in this film. It's kind of, I want to say, like an all star cast, but pretty much everyone in the film, like you've noticed in something else here in the past. Like you have like Chris Tucker, Marlon Wayans, Matt Damon, Jason Bateman. Excuse me. Um, Viola Davis, who are all like in this movie, and they're all basically playing characters that are like loosely based on like the real life personalities. Obviously, they got Affleck in the film playing Phil Knight, and I don't know, his portrayal of the character is almost someone who feels like he was kind of way over his head throughout most of the course of the film. It's like he at least built this company up to something to get to this point, but they kind of made him feel like kind of incompetent in that sense. I'm not sure if that was like kind of like a slide at Phil there. Maybe they had some kind of relationship in the past that we weren't aware of. But I want to ask you guys, who was the character you think? I mean, sorry, who was the actor you think had the best portrayal in the movie, and who do you think was probably the most out of place? Because like Chris Tucker, like for me, the character that he's playing, it's like he's still trying to like float between, that old comedic Chris Tucker and that somewhat more serious Chris Tucker, which doesn't really like work in a film like this. Like he has to be kind of one or the other. He can't really play like both of the roles at the same time. And then to me, the most pointless cameo of the film was Marlon Wayne. So I'm not sure if you guys felt that same way.
Yeah, sorry. Look,
Good.
there's a lot of the supporting characters in this movie don't feel like fully fleshed out characters. They sort of feel like conflict points for Matt Damon's character to kind of push back on his business deal because they're going to be impacted by it as well. Chris Tucker, I thought he was fine, but he's a little out of place. And I also thought the character acted very strangely in the boardroom meeting at the end when he was almost like, excuse my language, but shucking and jiving for Jordan's parents, where he was like,
because he needed to be the black face of the company. Yeah.
And we get it. We get it. Like Oregon is famous for the black people that live there, but like you don't have to experience rain before, Chris. You don't have to like. That was such a weird like dialogue and trying to like.
Well, it's because black people don't jog. Remember that.
No, I didn't. That was so weird. That was such a weird thing.
Yeah.
And even as talented as Jason Bateman is, he's basically playing his Arrested Development character, or his character from Horrible Bosses, or it's the same Jason Bateman, and it's okay because we like him, audiences like him, he's fine, but he's just kind of standing there, kind of doing the comedy, quick hitters with Matt Damon. So, and then Ben Affleck is mostly okay, but again, he's kind of an aloof doofus as Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike. And it's even in like at the end in the boardroom meeting, he's like, I think I'm important. Sorry, all my movies just fell. So that's awesome. But
no, I was just sneezing. There's no big deal.
But no, like, and so he plays kind of like an aloof doofus where he's like, he's putting the pressure on Matt Damon to get this deal done. But it's so like, you feel like if it didn't get done, he'd still be okay because he has billions of dollars. And, he built up Nike to that jogging shoe company he talks about. So I'd probably say the person most out of place is probably Chris Tucker, just because his character felt like the least outlined. And I don't know, I would say Matt Damon is probably the best, but it's literally two scenes, two inspirational speeches that sort of like drive his character forward. So I will say that characterization is not the strong suit of this. It's probably the stars and audiences recognizing them.
Yep.
Well, I would say that Chris Tucker is probably the most out of place here because he did, to me, especially in the first scene that he's in, it did sound like he was trying to do kind of a Rush Hour type comedy bit where he was speaking very fast and just kind of just almost not quite rambling, but that seems to be his primary character trait. He rambles at the beginning, he rambles at the end. I can see where Rob would think that about Jason Bateman, though I haven't seen that many episodes of Arrested Development or much of else. But I thought he did well in at least that monologue where he talks about how he would lose it. Even if he lost his job, he would still buy the shoes in order to have a contact with his daughter. It's those nice, quiet moments, and that's where Affleck shows that he's a very good director. Affleck struck me as kind of a bit like he was supposed to be a Zen Buddhist type, not
Phil
airhead,
Jackson,
Yeah.
almost like a
Yeah.
Phil Jackson character.
something like that, where he's kind of
That's right.
trying
You don't
to-
know basketball. Sorry.
Well, no, he's a coach. I know that much.
Right.
But he's kind
You
of
should
like.
know Greg Popovich, right? Because he never shuts up.
Sorry, I only know that. I only know what is it, Stephen Kerr. I think I know who that guy is because he's
Yeah.
always right, and he's the embodiment of morality today.
Yeah.
Yes, he struck me as like he's supposed to be spacey. That was the what I would say. He's supposed to be a little spacey, but I thought Matt Damon did very well. Supposed to be kind of this average everyman type character, complete with a little pot belly who doesn't want to jog. And I liked Viola Davis. She was a smaller part, but she was a very determined woman. But not, I didn't feel that she was very bossy. She just figured, all right, I have to take care of my son's best interest. My son, who will not speak or participate much in anything in this film, I'm his guardian. The actor who played was it James Jordan? He always seemed to be very jolly. Like he just seems to find everything amusing. So I kind of liked his character. But I don't know that speech that Damon says about how none of us are going to matter except for you. You'll be built up and torn down. I don't know. I know that Jordan had. I don't know if I don't think he was a producer, but he had some. He had influence, some kind of maybe influence in this film. I don't know if we needed that all that footage about Jordan's life and his missteps, his AAA, and especially when you bring up his father's murder. Something about that just did not quite sit well with me.
Well-
Like you're getting foreshadowing, but it just seems a little strange to put it there.
I'm glad you put that up. First of all, I just wanted to address this comment by Boba Fett. That would be an absolutely insufferable nightmare having Kerr and Popovich in the same locker room together talking left wing politics. Like you might as well just jump in front of a truck at that point. That's the only best outcome
Just
as far
ask
as
them.
that goes.
Just ask them. Who are the owners of the team, and then they'll they'll have a meltdown.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's a nightmare waiting to happen. But I'm glad you brought up that whole scene there because it's a scene like not towards the end, but toward late in the film where Matt Damon goes on like they're doing a whole pitch meeting with Jordan, and Jordan is not interested because it's said throughout the movie he wants to sign with Adidas. He's not interested in Nike, so they do the whole like corny like 1980s like VHS video campaign. It's like, hey, this is what your commercial is going to look like if you sign with us, and he's not into it. So Matt Damon stops the entire commercial and it goes on this whole spiel about how you're only going to be judged by your actions, and people are going to hate you, and they're going to hate you at your worst, but you're going to go on to be like the greatest player of all time. And it's like there was two things that I didn't like about that. One is that if you watch the whole scene again, people say, oh, that's like the best part of the movie. No, it's literally a Nike ad. Like that's literally an ad that they will play in a Nike commercial with like a young Michael Jordan sitting there talking to like the guys at Nike and like playing like his whole like career highlights and stuff. Like they literally like snuck in a Nike ad, like a 2-minute Nike ad in the film, and that's the way that I took that whole scene. And then the other thing is that we talked about Viola Davis is in the movie as Jordan's mother, and they portray her in the film like, oh, she's the one that controls the household, like she was the one that was running everything, right? And it's like, why would they make that decision to make it to where, oh, Jordan's mother was the most important figure in his life, knowing what we know about Jordan's father, especially towards the mid 1990s with the whole thing about his father getting murdered? And I know there's conspiracy theories out there that thinks it's about gambling debts and stuff like that. That's a conversation for another day. But obviously Jordan's father played a very big role in his life, and outside of like maybe one or two scenes, his role in the film is completely downplayed compared to Viola Davis's character. So that was a couple things I didn't like about that. And then, like I said, during the commercial, they're literally they even showed like the headline of Jordan's dad getting murdered. It's like you just gloss over that. Like that's just something that's like not important, especially when we talk about the character of like Michael Jordan. It's like, what are you guys doing here? It's like that whole thing felt completely out of whack. I felt like they were trying to force an emotion. It's like, no, you guys completely lost me there. Did you feel the same way watching that whole thing?
Well, here I get to be the sentimental wet blanket here, but I actually really liked it, because listen, sports and especially sports commercials are so much about like you want to talk about propaganda, you want to talk about triumph of the will, you want to talk about like the quote unquote fascist profile of the sort of athlete, war hero, blah 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 blah. I mean, look, this sort of has its aesthetic profile in modern day sports commercialism. And Michael Jordan, it's like has one of the greatest sports stories ever. It's just a little ridiculous because it's like we're like shadowing what your career will be before it's ever before it ever starts. That's ridiculous. That's a little like, okay, this is a little hard to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
I can get carried away with an emotional sports commercial or whatever, but placing it in context, it's like, yeah, it's his father passing away. I'm sure was something that was really hard for him, but like the whole movie is Matt Damon's vision and his gamble, which by the way gets set up by some really shaky backstory with his character, like being into gambling and like all that is just like, okay, we're just gonna go along with that, but it's about his
forgotten.
Right. It's about his sort of gamble or obsessive hold on putting it all on one player, doing the ultimate gamble and basically putting his career at risk with Phil Knight, with being the basketball guy at Nike, who's a savant of some kind. So I think that's what that was supposed to mean. Damon felt like his pitch was drifting away. He was losing his target audience, and so he stopped the video and basically kind of just gave that speech. But yeah, it's a little ridiculous when it's like, okay, none of this stuff has happened yet, and you're kind of just projecting it out on this kid.
Mm-hmm. And then not only that, but you still have like another like 25 minutes of movie left to go after you do that scene. Like that should be the closer. Like not go into we have to go to the decision, and then Jordan's mom makes a decision and like, hey, by the way, we want like a piece of every shoe that we sell, and then it's like they have to go through like that whole thing too. So it was all just completely out of place there.
Yeah, I always felt that the movie just went on longer than it should have. It should have ended. You could have ended it at that climatic monologue. You could have even ended it when Dolores gets what she wants in terms of the contract. You didn't need to keep going and going and going. And I was starting to say, when is this going to end? As for that monologue, well, yes, it's supposed to kind of give you an idea of what we know, or what most of us know about his life, the positives and the negatives, the liaisons, the failed baseball career, and it's kind of almost a way. It's not quite a way to stroke his ego, but it's certainly flattering how he is like a phoenix will rise up from the ashes. It is also strange though that they did kind of reduce Mr. Jordan to kind of just this kind of jolly guy who just laughs in the background and finds a lot of things amusing.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure he would have had a much more important influence in his life. So, but I guess because it's meant to be inspirational, I wasn't I wasn't as harsh on it perhaps as I should be. I didn't really take it as a commercial, but I can see where people would think that it would play as a commercial. My only issue was that at a certain point it should have ended, and it just kept going on and on and on, and I didn't feel it needed to go on as much as it did.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I feel like once they hit that climax point, they were like, "Oh yeah, we need to make an emphasis about the actual terms of the shoe deal because that plays into a big part of the story." Like later on, when they're revealing, how it changed the game for athletes, it's like stuff like that. It's like I get that, but then you should have had at least that end part. I mean, that mid part, the little speech there, maybe shifted a little bit wrong there. I don't know. Keep in mind, this is the first movie, like I said, this is the first movie that Ben Affleck has directed since, what was it, Live by Night, which was terrible, by the way. If you haven't
Yeah.
seen
Yes.
that one, that was a horrible movie. And I don't know, for some reason, I thought he had did something like in between there, because that was all the way back in like 2016. So it's like he had to have done at least one or two movies between there, but nope, he was too busy playing Batman and drinking about his divorce or
Well,
something
here's
like
the
that.
thing.
And going after
When-
J-Lo.
Yeah.
When that project got announced, I was really excited because I love prohibition movies, gangster movies, and that was his passion project. Live by Night was Ben Affleck's passion project. He played Batman to do it. Like he
Mhm.
basically so like I was so disappointed when that movie came out because it was so terrible, so bad, and he is so capable as a director. So I'm glad to see him doing better, even if this movie was great. It's a step in the right direction, especially after that piece of crap.
Yeah. And there's one thing about this film, I think we can get to our final thoughts here, is that I think what they were going for was that they were trying to portray, Nike as like this story of like the American dream, like quote unquote, like the underdog that rises to the top and becomes like the top of the mountain. I know that's a very odd saying considering the fact we're talking about Nike here and they haven't been the American dream probably since 1984. They're a multi-billion dollar multinational corporation now. So it's like, it's not quite the same thing, but I can understand what all the 80s nostalgia that was what they were shooting for. But for me, that this movie just felt like a missed opportunity in a lot of senses, because it was like you have so many characters and so many personalities you're trying to like squeeze into this film that leads to a runtime that felt bloated to me. Like I said, you're missing a lot of you're missing a lot of opportunity here by not actually having Jordan incorporated in the story just a little bit more, just kind of being like this mythical figure who we don't really see but we only hear from a couple of times. Like, I get it, Jordan doesn't allow you to use his likeness for your Hollywood movie because he wants to keep selling more shoes and he doesn't want to be a part of it. I understand that. Maybe that's something you guys need to write around, not exactly on him. But for me, this movie felt like a textbook example of great idea but terrible execution. There's definitely not an awful movie, but I think they just missed the ball on too many creative things that I think that were important to the story that they didn't pull off. So for me, this is going to be more of like a 2.5 out of 5 for me. Just something perfectly like in the middle. Like I said, there's things to like, but I just don't think they did it the way that it needed to be here. But Rob, I know you think a little bit differently from me. So what do you think about this film?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that different. It was more. I thought the premise was bad and that the execution was pretty good because there wasn't that much to go off of. So I certainly think you could have made a better movie, but I also didn't think that this was that bad. Look, it was mostly. I get it. There's not much substance here. There's very little story, and very little character. But this is one of those old situations where Matt Damon just carries this movie through his character. He makes you interested. Yeah. He makes you care about what he's trying to accomplish. And there's enough entertaining performances kind of around him to sort of buoy that and to make it work so it doesn't sink. I actually didn't feel the runtime like you guys are saying. I thought maybe it was a little too long, but I was mostly interested in the movie and not checking my phone. So I felt like it did a pretty good job with pacing. Again, they filled 2 hours about a shoe deal. So I think they did a pretty good job with it. I gave it 3 out of 5 because again, I think they executed it pretty well with very little actual content, with very little substance. And I think that most adults that go see this will enjoy themselves. It's artistically uninspiring. There's not a whole lot to look at. It's kind of drab. Set in 1984, a bunch of office buildings. Like, how many shots were there of like the office building with Mount Hood in the distance? There was like at least 4. You know what I mean? So like, it's not going to win any cinematography awards, but yeah, I give it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was solid.
Well, I mean, it's called Mount Hood, but it's not in the hood. All right.
That was that was part of Chris Tucker's awful like little diatribe there at the end.
Yeah,
terrible.
I think I probably liked it better than both of you. I don't quite agree with our friend Christian Toto, who thought it was this celebration of capitalism and industry. But I did think it was nice that it.
Well, to be fair, Toto is a bit of a boomer, so I mean, you gotta give him a little leeway.
But it was nice seeing that there was focus not exclusively on just getting the deal. I like that scene where Bateman talks about the importance of what happens if he loses his job. I also like that scene, very brief, where after Damon lands the deal, he goes and he sees all of the people around working there, and he sees, yeah, this is a shoe, but it's also these people's livelihood, as
Yep.
perhaps unimportant as it might seem to us. I thought it was well acted. I could have done without the almost incessant 80s soundtrack, and I say this as someone
Yeah.
who does remember and like a lot of those songs. I
How else
thought,
you gonna know they're in the '80s, bro?
yes,
Hey
it's like,
Rick, hey Rick,
yes.
it wasn't nearly as bad as the Super Mario Brothers use of fucking old music. Holy shit. Sorry, I know we're not there yet, but oh my god.
Yeah, good. We'll get there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. But I thought it was, again, well acted, surprisingly well paced, except that it seemed to drag a little longer than I thought it was, than I thought it should. Um, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5, because I did think much better of it. It is an inspirational story, and if that's what you're selling it as, I have no problem with it. I accept the film the way it's presented to me, so I actually liked it better than you guys did. So it's probably going to be, well, unless we come up with other movies, I would not be surprised if this were in my top 10. But
I want to say real quick, I did laugh more than I've communicated. Like sitting there in the theater, I probably laughed a good, I don't know, like 7 or 8 times. So like it's not, again, it's not a movie without its charms. It's just it's a little light.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to find its way into my top 10, unless there are others that are going to pop up.
Yep.
All right then. So that was our first film of the night, Air. So no, pretty lukewarm reactions to that film overall. So take it or leave it. You guys can enjoy it on your own time. Maybe go watch it on Raider Bay. I'm not sure if it's one worthy to go see in movie theaters, but one movie that everyone seems to be seeing right now, and I mean everyone, is the Super Mario movie. Now, before we even get started here, let me ask you guys, because Rob, did you go see this one at the movie theater?
No, no, I did not.
Okay, Rick, I'm pretty sure
No,
you went because you have this whole thing about not going to Raider Bay. So
no comprendo, Rob. No comprendo, Rob. Yes, I did go, and I actually went to a Thursday night screening, so it wasn't as crowded as would have been on a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday. But there was I still was around kids.
oh yeah, there was a whole lot of children in this film. So I took my brother to go see this movie, who's obviously a little bit older than the kids that went to this film. But I went there to watch this movie, and one of the things that I don't like about going to the most popular films is that the places are packed, especially with children, because it's one thing to break theater etiquette when you're like a grown adult, but then there's another thing when it's kids doing it, because you can't really get as mad at the children as you can with the adults because they don't really know better. And it seems like everyone has been waiting like about 6 to 8 months to find something that they can all take their children to, so they can be happy and merry and cheer every little thing that's barely shareable, to laugh at every joke that's not funny. And this is the perfect storm for the Mario Brothers movie. This movie made, I think, somewhere like almost $400 million already in like the first week. So this is probably going to cruise to like $1 billion. And there's a lot of narratives going on about this movie saying that, oh well, go see this movie because it's not woke. It doesn't it doesn't try to subvert the culture, subvert expectations, stuff like that. Like here's the thing. In case you didn't know, Nintendo is the producer of this film. And Nintendo, knowing that Mario is the number one cash cow of the entire brand, they were not going to allow Hollywood to screw up their cash cow. There was just no way this was going to happen. So it was like, here's the script. This is what you guys are going to do. Don't try to subvert anything. Don't try to add in your little jokes or whatever. Stick to the script, or we'll find somebody else to do it for you. And then I think it was Universal, who's the other distributor of this movie. It was like, yes, sir, we'll go ahead and just take our money and take our seats. And this is essentially what happened here. Nintendo was not going to allow Hollywood to poison the well of their number one cash cow, like some of the other brands that we've seen over the last few years, Resident Evil. But so I just want to ask you about your theater experience here, about sitting in a theater. It had to be packed full of people. I went at like a 5 o'clock showing, thinking that it wouldn't be as packed. It was still pretty packed there, so there was still a lot of people there, even at 5 o'clock on a Thursday, to go watch this film. So, how did you enjoy sitting with the Munchkins there, Rick?
Well, I went on Thursday at 8 p.m. So there were still, I was surprised to see kids. It's a Thursday. I mean, this is a school night.
Yeah.
Although they might have been off for Good Friday. I'm not sure if the school's closed for Good Friday or not. Some do, some don't. And they weren't, they were attentive, and they did talk. But if you go to a movie that's geared for kids and you have kids there, that's something you should expect. When I went to see Air on Sunday night, I couldn't get in line for popcorn or anything like that because it was completely jam packed, and there were just endless screenings all over in the XD, and I don't know if it was a 3D. There were a lot of screens for Super Mario Brothers. My experience in the theater was pleasant, but then again, I understand that if I'm going to go to a movie that is for kids, I will have to endure the kids' enthusiasm and very expressive speaking. I did this with Minions, although curiously enough, not with Lightyear. I think there weren't that many kids in Lightyear. I don't know why, but
That's a shocker. I don't think too many people went to go see that movie. It's kind of weird how that happened.
So, but again, if I go to a movie where I am going to go with kids present, I have to accept a little boisterousness in the theater. And just for the record, Rob, I was probably much more behaved than you were because I'm more sedate. I mean, I haven't really changed my personality as a child, so would not be the type to run around, except scream in terror when I'm frightened by people's hearts being ripped out in theaters. But that's something else.
Yeah, you're just weak. Anyways, one thing that this film had going for it is that I think most of you guys have probably seen the 1993 Super Mario movie, which, look, this film didn't have a very high bar to cross at this point. Like, we've gotten to the point where video game movies have gotten so bad. All you have to be is okay at this point. You're probably on the top tier of like video game movies. And I think Sonic and this movie Mario kind of has the formula. It's like, look, just don't do anything that pisses anybody off, and just get in, get out, and make a movie, and then we should be fine. But unfortunately, other video game related content just doesn't know how to do that. No, Resident Evil. So with this movie, like I said, not a high bar, and the story is pretty like straightforward. We start off in New York, and it's two plumbers. We have Mario played by Chris Pratt, and then we have Luigi played by Charlie Day, which I do find it hilarious that Charlie Day got no crap for playing Luigi whatsoever, even though John Leguizamo was out there trying to like give Chris Pratt shit because, oh, he's not a real Hispanic. Why is he playing Italian? It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know being Hispanic was a prerequisite to playing an Italian man now. Like, what? Like, dude, just sit this one out. Like, this is the problem with these people. They just don't know when to just lay out on this one. Like, not every hill is one that you have to like die on. Maybe you could just pick your battles there. So he's an absolute jackass. But so yeah, we're starting off with those two. They're doing their own plumbing business. It's not particularly going well, obviously, but they decide that, hey, there's a giant main break in the city. If they're the first ones on the scene and they can fix it, that could really help their business. But they end up going too deep into the city, into a world of, let's just say, a whole bunch of pipes, and they get sucked in to the Mushroom Kingdom and Bowser's location. Now, we find out that, Bowser is in the movie, and you think that, his entire objective is world domination. He wants to take over the Mushroom Kingdom and take over every other kingdom outside of that. And we find out that, well, no, actually, he just wants to marry Princess Peach, and that's pretty much it. That's the whole plot of the film in a nutshell there. I have to say this, and you kind of have to grade some of these movies on somewhat of the curve, because if you're going in there expecting this like great like epic Mario like adventure here, I gotta be honest with you, this is really a film for like 9-year-olds. Like that, this is the target demographic here. It's like I know like a lot of you guys grew up with Mario in the '80s. I was trying to be nice, but you know, but like I know a lot of you guys grew up in the '80s and the '90s with Mario. It's like, oh yeah, I know all those references, but it's like really this movie's for kids. This movie's for people who first Mario game was probably like Mario Party like 9 or something like that, and that's who they're making this film for. So I don't know. What did you think? Kind of being like a video game fan, growing up with video games, what did you feel about this movie? Do you think that just kind of did like the bare minimum of getting over, or what was your kind of your early thoughts on this one, Rob?
Yeah, so I grew up with the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie. Like I rented it a bunch. I didn't have any problems with it as a kid because I didn't know it was bad. I prefer that movie so much to this animated kids thing. So, look, I can say, look, the animation's good. I think that the actors playing the roles give they give effort and they give a lively performance. But I cannot say enough how much this isn't for me. It's a cartoon. It's a little kids cartoon. It has musical references that I guess are for the parents. And I'm just everything is awful and cringy and embarrassing, and I'm trying real hard. I don't have kids, so again, this is just the perspective of a 34-year-old single man. But holy shit, I just have nothing to offer here. There's just bright colors and lots of movement and pithy dialogue. Hey, Mario's a loser until he's not. That's it. That's the movie.
Well,
Yeah.
Rob, just wait until this gets a Criterion, all right? I'm sure you'll be won over there. Look, I accept this movie for what it is. It's a cutesy kids movie that's geared toward the kind of preschool, elementary school set. Like I said in my review, this is going to find its way on permanent rotation at your local daycare center, and the kids will be entertained by the colors. It's not a very complicated story. It did kind of surprise me, though, that Bowser's whole motivation was just to pursue Princess Peach. I thought it would have been better if that had been at the end when he finally lands in the Mushroom Kingdom, than just telling us the whole story. And apparently they're going to aim for his Princess Peach song to be nominated for original song. Why not? I mean, at this point, we've had a run of really crappy songs winning. So when I look at this film, I know, again, I'm not the target audience, and there were probably some things that I missed because I didn't, I don't think I went past the first Donkey Kong. I don't know, the first Donkey Kong. I mean, the first Mario Brothers cartoon. So I thought it was pleasant and cute, the same way that I felt about Minions, which again I liked more than you guys did, because again I figured for the target audience that it was aimed at, it's fine, it's cute. There's nothing really horrifying, although this really is, and I wrote this in my review, this is the second film I've seen this year that has holding out for a hero playing during a montage. I could do without that.
The Bonnie Tyler song?
Yes, this is a
it's
second
a great
film.
song, but
yeah, it's a second
Hey,
one.
at least we're not still playing "Sabotage" from the Beastie Boys in all of our movie trailers that we've seen in the last 5 years.
No, you just play.
No,
so
Brooklyn played it dead because they're fucking hacks. Yeah, good job.
And because they're going to Brooklyn, aren't they? Because they're from Brooklyn.
Right, the plumbers are from Brooklyn. Yes. Good job.
You know they wanted so bad to play "Sabotage" and they had to settle with "No Sleep" from Brooklyn. I mean, it's like, guys, I'm not sure if you guys know this. Like, I'm not even like the biggest Beastie Boys fan in the world, but they had more than 2 songs. Like, play "Intergalactic" every now and then. Like, how about that? Can we get that song in some of these trailers?
Bring back "We Fight for Your Right to Party." That was the anthem of
the
my
new
generation.
style. Play "Open Letter to New York City." I mean, you're in the no. These people are dumb. Anyway,
I also thought, and I'm sure I'm wrong here, video game fans, but I also thought more than a Super Mario Brothers movie, it was like a Super Smash Brothers movie. It felt like they threw a lot of characters in there that didn't
Well, there.
necessarily tell the story of the Super Mario Brothers as much as it's a Nintendo movie.
Well, yes. I mean, I know that they had that, that kind of uh, a reference to that little star that was very cheerful, but what I call it cheerful pessimism, because
Yeah,
she or he was always very miserable, but saying it in a very cheerful way. And the only part that the little star was happy was when he was about to melt and be, vaporized. So I had that explained to me, like, oh, that's from another game. I was like, okay, I didn't know, but again, I thought it was kind of amusing.
Yeah, so for this film, essentially what they did here is that they made references to multiple Mario games. It wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna make a reference to like the first video game, like the Super Nintendo era or anything like that. They referenced the old video games. They referenced Mario Party. They referenced Super Smash Brothers. There was a little bit of everything. So I think if you play it, because I guess they're expecting that well, Mario's been around for so long now, we can't really tell where people actually started with Mario, whether it was Mario Party, Mario Golf, Mario like kart, stuff like that. So it's like they just throw a little bit of everything in there, so that at least somebody will understand like a reference or two. But obviously there was a lot of to old back to like the old school, the original like Mario game when he's jumping over barrels and trying to get Donkey Kong and stuff like that. So well, I brought up the voice acting here for a second because Johnson said that she didn't like Princess Peach because she did annoy her at some point. What did you think of the voice acting for the film overall? Because Anna Taylor-Joy, who you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of, but I didn't mind her in the voice role of this film. I think she did a pretty solid job. I think mostly everyone did a pretty solid job. There's not going to be any scenario where I can foresee me ever giving Seth Rogen any kind of credit whatsoever. And then I think like you could have found literally anybody else to be involved with this project. I don't think he did much of anything here. But what was kind of your thoughts on just kind of the voice acting in general of this film? Like, does anyone stood out to you, bad or good?
I thought, and I said it earlier, I thought everyone was fine and gave pretty spirited performances, for a kids movie. Things that are dynamic, things that are easily, scary or happy or whatever the swing of emotion is. Um, I don't really like to support anything Seth Rogen does, so I hope he's not making much money from this. But yeah, I thought everybody was mostly fine. I know that there's that weird thing about Chris Pratt not being able to do an Italian act. Who cares? It's really, come on. He was fine.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt was fine. So
Well, the curious thing is that they did kind of give a reason as to why Mario and Luigi didn't have uh, Italian accents for the movie. But I just wondered if they're from Brooklyn and they were, I must presume, born and raised in Brooklyn. Why would they have Italian accents to begin with? But maybe I'm just thinking too much, trying to have too much logic here. Uh, I thought the voice acting was fine. Chris Pratt did a good job. Charlie Day did a very good job because he kind of has that kind of scared persona type, and he brings it to Luigi. It was nice to see Luigi kind of not take center stage, but I guess be a more uh, prominent figure than most would in other projects. I thought Anya Taylor Joy was fine. Was it Keegan Michael Key
yes.
was Toad? Yeah, that was cute, appropriately cute. Very chipper. Uh, so I thought the voice acting was well done. What was it? Cranky Kong. That was it Chris Kattan, I think. But that was
Who I
no,
have to
yeah.
guess to
Look
make
that up.
sure.
Look that up
Yeah.
because I saw the credit and it kind of surprised me because it didn't sound anything like what I
Fred
think.
Armisen.
Oh, Fred Armisen. I always get
Yeah,
them
yeah.
mixed up. Yes, it didn't strike me. Yeah, I
That's
always get
fair.
them mixed up.
Okay,
I think
So
to myself, like,
fine.
Chris Kattan, was the last thing he was ever in?
I know.
Mango. I don't know. So no, I thought they were. Oh, no, that's where like you see. I constantly get them mixed up. I don't know why. So yeah, I thought it worked well. And again, this is not going to be a deep exploration into the dark recesses of Bowser's soul as he hunts for his bride. So I rolled with it. It was cute, adorable. You just go with it, and I
Those
accept
are
it for what it is.
words. Those are words you use when you don't want to actually critically analyze something, but that's fine. It's okay.
No,
Yeah.
I look at it.
Well,
I look
this is
at
why
it
we
as
don't review kids movies that often, because this is the
yes,
exact reason.
exactly. I can't look at this and say, oh well, this didn't please me because I'm not the target audience. I try to look at it from how a target audience would look at it, and I think kids will like it based on the reactions of the theater that I attended. Even though it didn't have, was it packed?
Yeah.
The kids liked it. The parents probably felt relieved that they didn't have to, shield their eyes or cover their ears with anything that was going on. The closest was when Luigi lands in the Darklands, and you had the walking Kubas. That might be, when they're rising up from the earth. That's the only part where I thought maybe this is just a little too much for really small kids. But other than that, I really didn't find anything that a parent would be worried about, and when they would take their kids to see this and say, "Oh,
Okay.
I mean, this was the opposite of taking of when I saw parents take their kids to see Deadpool. That that was a little bad. Or Pan's Labyrinth, where I saw kids crying and just terrified. So
Yeah.
so that's my thing. That's my
Okay.
take.
So Boba Fett just referenced my favorite John Candy movie, Who's Harry Crumb, and it's true. At the end of that movie, it's I don't Rick. You said the title of the song by Bonnie Tyler, "Need a Hero" or whatever.
Holding out for a hero.
Holding up for a hero. Yes. That's a great scene at the end. Just
I
attacks the
can be
airplane.
your hero, baby. Remember that song? Remember that was being
That's
played?
Enrique Iglesias.
Enrique Iglesias.
That's
Once
Enrique
again.
Iglesias.
Yeah.
No, I'm holding out for a hero till the morning light. I mean, again, that's a little too much. I get what you're trying to do when you're trying to show him train, and you need that montage where he's training to be, to take on Bowser. But can't find another song? Can you find another song?
Like I said, I feel like Hollywood, they only have like the license to like 5 songs. So it's like they have to like keep finding like new ways to shoe in like those same songs over and over again. It's like,
Well,
No.
they
No
spent a lot of
Nickelback,
money.
please. No. No Spider-Man original soundtrack from
hey, no,
2001.
sorry, a hero could save. By the way, I was watching Molly's Game again last night. And it was the one where Michael Cera is playing the unofficial character of Tobey Maguire. I'm just thinking to myself like the entire time, it's like Tobey Maguire must really just be like a dick. Because
No,
they
it's
do
funny.
him.
He's best friends with Leo DiCaprio, and they've been best friends since like meeting on
Yeah,
Boy's
it's just
Life
like
or whatever it
early
is.
90s or something like that.
They're still friends, and it's like, okay, that's sweet.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they spent a lot of money on the soundtrack in Air because that movie was just. I mean, there's not much.
That whole budget went to licensing fees. Let's just put
Yes.
it that way.
Well,
Yes,
no,
because
the
there's-
cast. Look at the cast and look at the budget, and you're like, okay, it's half of it went to the soundtrack and half of it went to the cast.
Yep. I was thinking to myself when we were singing that song too. It was like, what was the other one? Not from Nickelback, the Creed song. There was a Creed song similar to that one as well. It'll come back to me a second. It'll
Now
be
can
very,
you
very
take me
annoying.
higher, right?
Yes, that's it. That's
Take
it.
me
bad.
It's like that one and like the Florida Marlin song are like my 2 favorite Scott Stapp songs of all time. So. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of pandering. There's a lot of like I said, this is supposed to be like a feel good fan service movie. I think they accomplished that. Look, the only problem that I have with this film, like, it's not bad. It feels the same way like Air, but it's like I just wasn't really that engaged into the film. But there's a lot of kids around me that really enjoyed this movie. There was a lot of parents that I thought were kind of uncomfortably cheering on with the film a lot during this movie as well. And I think like towards the end where they were doing like the whole like they were doing the whole Rainbow Road chase, and then towards the end like they finally go back to like Brooklyn and do like a whole fight there. I think it kind of nodded off after a while. Then it was like, okay, they got the star and they won now, so we can all go home then, right? Yeah. So to me, I don't know. I think look, you're not gonna hate this movie. The people who are saying, "Oh, you got to go see it like several times," it's like, calm down. It's not that good. Like, let us be honest here. Like, it's not that good of a movie. Like, it's basically a straightforward Mario movie that fans of the Mario franchise are gonna enjoy, but they're not gonna go out and see this movie like several times. It's not that good. So it's like, calm down just a little bit there, people. But I don't know. For me, I'd probably give this one somewhere about a 3 out of 5. Rob, what do you think of the film here?
Yeah, it's hard to judge it and judge it accurately. You know, like I was spoiled as a kid, so I watched Five Goes West and Fern Gully and The Great Mouse Detective, and I think even those movies have an element of like scares and surprises that we don't even see in this kind of movie. So I don't think it's bad. I think it's just a little simple and it's a little, bereft of ideas, which is fine. It's a kids' movie. So it's so hard. I'm gonna be generous and give it a 2.5 out of 5. So, but yeah, that's about it, guys. It's gonna make a ton of money, so who cares what I say?
Yep. $1 billion all the way, baby.
Your generosity is underwhelming. You're very parsimonious with your generosity. I love throwing those words at you. I'm going to give it a 3 because it knew what it was. It met my expectations. I can't fault a film for aiming, for having a target and hitting it. I wasn't thrilled with the little openings to sequels, like Princess Peach. She had to kind of drop her origin story, and maybe we'll explore that in another film. Um, those were minor details, but on the whole, it's bright, it's colorful, it gives the kids what they want. A lot of movement, a lot of action, cutesy moments. So yes, I'm maybe being much more generous than I should be, but again, I'm looking at it from the target audience of how they would like it, and I think the kids will like it. I wouldn't see it, although I don't know if I were a parent, I would just let the movie play and I wouldn't participate. It's kind of like when I forced my mom to watch Not Quite Human or the original Freaky Friday every time it came on, and she would literally groan in just frustration. But I was a child, so yeah, a 3. I'd give it a 3. It's fine. It's cute. The kids will like it. That's what people wanted to see, and that's what they got.
Yeah, like I said, people are going to take their kids there because they can, so they don't have to like watch them for a little short period of time, and that's pretty much the whole reason why anyone's going to go see this movie. They need some kind of fun escape, and this movie is that escape for them. So it's like, good luck with you guys if you guys want to go out and see this. I will say this though, the one character that did actually like make me laugh throughout the course of the film was a little suicidal star thing when they
Yeah.
were all like in the dungeon. Like that was the one part that I was like, yeah, this character's like so dark and messed up. It's actually funny, but that would be my MVP of like this entire movie. So if I had to like pick one there, so
Yeah, that the what is it? The joyful pessimism that
yeah.
those stars had.
He's like, everyone's like, oh my god, we're gonna die. He's like, oh my god, we're gonna die, yay! Exactly.
And he was actually upset when they didn't die.
Yeah, yeah. So that was probably my best part of the entire film. So there we go. Those are our two movies of the night. But before we get out of here, I do have to play you guys this one because we brought up Bad Creed song. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and play the Scott Staff Marlin song only because well, hell not. Like so, just play just a couple minutes of this song only because I love
Sorry,
Bad's
everybody.
music. Yep. And like Fred Durst headlined the concert in 2023. Like, would you go?
No, I would not go.
The Marlins will soar. I'm confused.
In the mouth
Yeah,
of the
so-
pelican.
Okay, in case you need a little backstory about that, so Scott Staff's life fell apart because his entire band quit on him. And if you guys didn't know the story, his band not only quit on him, but they went to go start Alter Bridge, which in my opinion is a much better band altogether. So then he was pretty much left by himself. So he was down, needed the money, and he decided that I'll just do a song for the Marlins. And it doesn't have to make sense because Marlins don't soar, they don't fly, so it's like who cares.
And they're actually doing quite well. That's not a scary thing. Maybe the song is
well, the Marlins haven't been any good since they won the World Series like 20 years ago. So.
Oh, I'm confusing them with the Rays.
No, yeah, no.
97 was the year the Marlins won the World Series or something like that. Maybe they won more recently.
Yeah, it was 97 because they were only like in the league for like 2 years at that point. So
and Alter Bridge, like I think the first time I heard them, it was on my Madden. It was like Madden 04 or Madden 05 or something like that. So it was around that time.
Yeah, a lot of people remember Alter Bridge because they did the theme song "The Edge," which they're still playing to this day on WWE. So it's been quite a while. They got a lot of legs to them. So they've gotten more legs to them than Creed, unless you go back and just play that one song that they played at halftime at the Super Bowl that one year. I mean, not Super Bowl, Thanksgiving. Was it Thanksgiving?
It was the Cowboys. Yeah, it was the Cowboys like Thanksgiving game. I forget they were playing. It was like a Drew Bledsoe jersey he was wearing.
Yeah, Drew Bledsoe with the cow, man. Oof. No, I only remember Oof. Scott Stapp with when he wasn't he drunk on some show and just making
that doesn't narrow it down.
Yeah, that's the one thing I remember. Poor guy, but one of these days I'm gonna have to, God willing, I'll be able to go there. So that should be fun. I hope they don't play that song.
They probably will.
If they do, I'll ask, how do Marlins soar?
I literally just made that joke like a while ago. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I was still kind of lost in all that. I was worried that you would have played the song, and you actually did. Thanks, Rob.
Yep, blame Rob. It's all his fault.
Yeah.
I was thinking you don't drink or drugs, so this is just you all the time, huh?
This is just 24/7.
Yep.
Well, so I wanted to let you guys know that this Saturday we're bringing back our movie nights. I know we suspended movie nights for the football season, but we are going to bring back movie nights because I'm trying to become partner on Twitch, and I need to get some viewership up on the side. I need to get congruent viewership, as they said on the little site thingamajigger here. So I figure what better way to do that is bring back movie nights. We'll bring them back exclusive for both Twitch and on Rumble. And, well, that means that we're going to have to spin the wheel, figure out what movie we're going to watch this Saturday night. So I have the wheel right here just in case you can't see it. I'll make it just a little bit bigger for you guys, but no, apparently it doesn't work when you do it like that. So screw it. I'll just tell you guys what's on the wheel for this time around. We have Street Fighter. I got Labyrinth. I've got Twister, Blue Streak, Tremors, Class of 1984. I have War Games, Evasion USA, Night of the Comet, and The Craft. So 10 movies there. That should be very, very entertaining watches. Are you guys ready to figure out what movie we're going to watch this Saturday night?
Sure.
Yep.
Let's spin it. It's going to take a while. It's just the way that it goes. So, and we are going to be stuck on War Games. Yep. War Games. So this Saturday night we'll be watching War Games live on Twitch and on Rumble. So join us there Saturday. I don't have a specific time, but I should have one confirmed to you tomorrow night on the Barroom podcast. So yeah, lots of more disappointment. Lots more disappointment for Spencer there on the chat. So. Yeah, War Games, 40th. Yeah, it's been 40 years. Yeah, jeez, we're all getting old here, people. So we're gonna go ahead and promote some things and let you know what we got coming up this week, especially on the Barroom podcast. Well, let me go ahead and start with Rick. There, what do you got coming up this week that people should know about?
Oh, no, just more reviews. Just trying to catch up on the reviews that I'm waiting to write. Things I've seen. That's pretty much it. Nothing to sell.
All right, then. Do you have absolutely nothing as well there, Mr. Rob?
Yeah. No. I just wanted to say check out my Twitter because I talk about movies. And I did want to mention a movie I had just watched this weekend called Storm Warning, which is about Ronald Reagan like uncovering a Ku Klux Klan gang in like 1951. So it's just an interesting movie. It's on HBO Max right now. I'd say check it out. It's pretty interesting.
That's with Doris Day and Ginger Rogers, right? They play sisters.
Yep, that's right.
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Yep, watch it.
All right, then letting you guys know what we got coming up tomorrow night, Barroom Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be a pretty hot one because we got a lot of stories to talk about. We're going to talk about Star Wars a lot tomorrow night. They're doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on the Force is female, and they've dedicated the next 5 years to more female-led Star Wars projects, including bringing back Daisy Ridley to play Rey. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We're also going to talk about how one of their new shows they're using to blur the lines between good and evil, because apparently Star Wars isn't a story about good and evil anymore. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Disney Plus has apparently greenlit a show about a teenage girl who falls in love and has a baby with the devil. So we'll talk about why they thought that would be a good idea to have on Disney Plus tomorrow night. Jonathan Majors, we haven't talked about him in a few weeks, but is Disney at the point where they're going to pull the plug on him and recast him as Kane the Conqueror with everything going on behind the scenes with him? We'll talk about that tomorrow. And then Lance Reddick, who passed away a couple of weeks ago before the opening of John Wick 4. His cause of death was released yesterday, but his lawyers and his family are apparently disputing the cause of death, which are now begging people to ask the question, was the jab involved? We'll talk about that whole thing tomorrow night as well. That's on the Barroom Podcast, YouTube, Twitter, and on Rumble. All of that coming up tomorrow night. So until then, I want to thank all of you guys for joining us here tonight. Let's see if I can get everyone out. Alex vs. Evil, Doba Fett, DK, who joined us tonight. Cassie, you did a little bit of a run by with us tonight. Spencer, C.S. Johnson. I know Rico was here with us for a little bit. So to everyone who joined us tonight, Duke, thanks for joining us on a Monday night. This is a great show. We had a lot of, like I said, we'll talk about this one in full tomorrow. So yeah, I'll keep you on the loop when we hit that one up. So until then, we will see you tomorrow night for the Barroom Podcast. Wave to the crowd, everyone. We're going to go ahead and hit the Spring Yard and get out of here. See you tomorrow. Adios.